I am the flood that washes the earth clean.
JonJon Venator.
I see Calico. I see Great Talon.
Good initial trade into the Great Talon. I love that he's hugging the wall, making sure that the Rain of Arrows does not connect to him that easily. And I kind of like the Ivy Venator lane. They have good wave clear, so that's why they can position themselves in mid. And the Venator can also self-sustain pretty well, letting the Ivy roam if she wants to do so. Retro Shot is great. It's better than extra healing if you're able to proc it up constantly, as well as giving the additional weapon damage is always very helpful. And I like this. He's constantly third person peeking in the lane, so he's not taking too much poke. Even though he does have a sustain item, he's not playing out in the open. He's making sure he's playing the cover well. And that way he's actually able to clear the wave safely and look to trade people as much as he can. And I like this. They're playing for the tier 1 camp on spawn. So what's going to constantly happen in this lane is the Venator Ivies are going to constantly push the lane in order to get lane pro to go look to do something else, or look for a little bit of chip damage on the tower. And then because boxes spawned, they're just playing the boxes. It also helps them this way because they want to get to their ultimates as quickly as possible in order to put some good pressure onto the enemy. And if they're able to get the ultimates first, it's that much better. And you can see that JonJon took the ones that are closer so that he could come back for the wave in time. And then Ivy is taking the ones that are further back and leaving JonJon to get the solo wave. And this is just going to augment his clear quickly so he can get the ult faster. And I like this aggressive trade. The Great Talon wasn't around, so he just decided to take this trade just so he could get that HP advantage and look to put pressure on the Guardian after this wave. But yeah, not too much is happening in this lane. This is going to be constant wave clear. And they're playing well to play it safe. Good precautionary parry. And now that the camps have spawned, they just shove the wave to let JonJon farm the camps. And I like that Ivy's trying to steal away theirs. So Ivy probably just took the tier 1s, and JonJon's going to take the solo wave. I like this as well, because he's taking the ones farther away, so that Ivy doesn't get them, so they don't split the money. And again, this is going to help him get ahead in like these small little leads in the lane. Ivy uses the ult to get the damage amp to help take the Guardian quickly. Just by one wave and one actively playing that wave, they're able to chunk that Guardian to half HP. So the next time the Ivy ult comes up with the reduced cooldown from picking up an ally, they're going to be able to take this Walker, or this Guardian, sorry. So Ivy puts Kudzu Connection in order to help push the wave hard. And the next wave will be the wave where they probably take the Guardian.
Let's take out guys.
And then once they get the Guardian kill, the Guardian, it's going to be so much easier and gives a lot of space for them to take the centers. So there's the Kudzu Connection pop to help push the wave. And they're playing this aggressively. They're hard clearing the wave, and I would expect the Saya to pick up JonJon again, just to look for something.
Ready to fly? Let's put blue.
And there it is.
They can run, but it only will delay. I see Paradox.
It was a good kill. Good support from Saya to keep him alive. And just like that, they get the Guardian. And JonJon does get out. And I like that he doesn't go to the shop to buy. He doesn't have a bag, so it doesn't matter to him. He just wants to reset. He's focused on the one goal, which is to reset. I will say, though, I do think he should fast it just to get back to the wave to clear it out, and then he can look for a lane swap of some sort. But what they're going to do now is they're going to look to put pressure on this lane and look to take some of the sinners. Yeah. So he shoves it one more time. And he's probably going to go straight to this doubles. And this makes sense as well. He has the space to do so. He understands that people are on his right side of the map. So he just goes to steal the sinners away from them, and then once the wave comes back and resets, he might look to push it out one more time and go straight to the doubles after it. Yeah. So he takes his own, lets the wave crash. We'll push it out again to play for the doubles. But I'll look to purchase in the middle. So I'll buy a 1600 item here probably. He might save up for Fortitude or something though as well.
I'll finish him off.
I see Billy.
And he's just playing around because of bridge buff.
Let him come for me.
There's a trap at the entrance to make it so he's a little bit safer doing the spinners. You can see that he's able to do the sinners now because he has his teammates around. And yeah, so he's going to buy, and he's probably going to look over to swap the lane with the Shiv. And now the Shiv is able to get active. And because of this lead, I won't even be surprised if he just rips Iradomini to just take this 1v1 with the Geist. You can see that Ido on the Holiday is looking in to come in for the gank. And this is going to be a game-changing moment. If Leffa gets caught out there, this game is almost doomed. Because JonJon's going to be so far ahead. Sorry, if the Geist got caught. Not Leffa. Yeah, he's just taking it easy. He's just farming all of these left side, or his right side jungle. And he's just chilling out. Yeah, I love this. I love this. He's being sneaky.
I see guys.
Great lasso.
Miserable existence.
Nice. They had to make sure to get the kill before the lasso finished because of Geist swap. And because it's a little bit too early to push the walker out without any pressure elsewhere on the map, they're just going to chill out. They don't need to do anything fancy, and they're just going to steal away jungle. And he's playing in this spot because he's listening to his surroundings, making sure that if anyone does end up coming, he's able to just get out. And I'm going to assume after the next few waves, he's going to look to buy. He's probably going to take this roof camp and then the bottom camp and then go buy. He might do the inverse order as well. He might just go buy first.
An excellent choice.
He wasn't able to finish that last camp because he has to go back to clear this wave. If he doesn't, the pocket will just end up doing a lot of damage to it. And you might be wondering why I'm not really talking too much about macro. It's just because the rest of his team is going to be doing that. He's just playing in his own world right now, just making sure that he stays farmed up. And this is because he's also ahead. If he wasn't ahead, he wouldn't have this luxury. Because he's ahead, he himself has the luxury of taking and making space by himself. The swap in front, nice stun. But just these deaths are just causing JonJon to get so far ahead. He's 6k ahead the other team's carry. The ball is in his hands in order to carry this game. Because he is also the main difference on his team. The rest of his team is pretty much equal to the opponents. So it's pretty much up to him to carry. Good hyperline. And he's going to chain it into the stun. Yeah. Nice. Great kill onto low main. Very well played. And he's just going to continue farming. So he has a few options. There's Ballistic Enchantment. Yeah, I like this option the best. And this is simply because he is ahead. Because he's so far ahead, I loved it. The fact that he took a green item instead of going an offensive item. Him being able to stay alive in fights and take extended trades will benefit him way more than getting an extra gun item. Sure, he'll be able to do more damage and whatnot, but him being able to stay alive and keep the tempo going is so much more valuable. Good lasso attempt. Yeah. They send 4 just to rush down this walker. They're mirroring what's happening on the other side of the map. They made sure to focus the walker entirely before taking this fight, so they don't have the walker resistances. And that's a good fight win. Even though they did lose 2 on the other side, they got a walker for it. And now they have time to reset and maybe defend this walker. I doubt it, but they can now look to seal a lot of the jungle. But this Venator is very hard to contest in the side lane. Yeah, and there's the Ballistic, and he probably has extra charge here, right? Yeah, there you go. Very standard Venator build. And you might be wondering why he didn't buy a 6k when he was so rich. And it's simply just because Venator works so much better with the 3ks, and it allows him to tempo way harder into the game. That was a little bit of an int from Lord NM. They don't have any space nor minion wave in that moment. So, it's a little rough. And because of how even the game is, both teams will probably be playing this Rift. And this Rift will change a large portion of this game. That's a great lasso from Ido. Great combo. And a huge 2 kills with his ult. Now this Rift is completely unplayable, and they can even look for the option in mid. Which it does seem like they're doing. Good counterspell on the Affliction. And these grenades are going ham in this pit right now. JonJon's outputting so much damage. There's no regions left on the field, which does suck. Xeno's doing a lot of work here. Yeah. And just like that, JonJon wins the fight. They do lose out on all the Rejuve crystals, which does suck. But they now get a huge money lead, and they're going to be able to get a lot of these next objectives. And again, similar reason, he probably should have bought Rapid Recharge here as well, but he got the Spirit Resilience just for the extra resistances. And that way he's actually able to stay alive and continue outputting damage in these fights. And I am glad that they gave this urn to the Venator, because they're going to be swapping sides, so he has a little bit more walker pressure. It's also to help him scale with the extra, what's it called? Bridge buffs. Or not bridge buffs, golden statue buffs. I think one of Melee Creep's greatest strengths is how well that they're able to feed JonJon. Yeah, and I like this. He recognizes the fight that's happening on this side of the map, immediately shoves out the wave, but he understands that someone's probably going to look to cut the wave, so he's looking to join the fight. And he doesn't want to do it alone either, because if he dies, the game is hurting now. Because it's going to be a long respawn timer, and FPSL is going to be able to get a lot of comeback money. I like this from Ido. He's hiding, looking for a pick, hovering. Does the pocket have taken the bait? No. But this is the problem when your M1 is so far ahead that they just know that they can't contest him. So it's going to be a lot harder for people like Ido to look for a pick on that side of the map. Yeah, and I love this. Another green item, Vampiric Burst, again to help him stay alive in these fights.
They'll walk right into this.
And Ido is creating the space for JonJon to walk up the wave. This is a good reaction from FPSL to try and take the walker. Unfortunately, DMB doesn't get it, because it would be huge for them. Getting the flex slot advantage at this point in the game is actually massive. That's kind of what's hindering melee creeps right now. Like JonJon does have a few slots that he can replace, but it's getting hard to a point where he might not want to replace some of them. At least just yet. I will agree though with you, Viz, that M1 at the highest level is kind of boring. Because all you do is just sit in the side lane. But your job is still really important because you're meant to scale.
I see Billy. I see Billy.
Slow main dies to a trap.
Our yellow walker is under attack. Our yellow walker
That was just a really rough trade for melee creeps. They lose the walker on the side lane and they lose 2 people. They're lucky that this wasn't a rejuve timer, because MPSL could have then looked towards mid boss with like double paradox bombs. Yeah, they're just chilling, waiting for the respawn timers, and then Ido's gonna look for a pick, and then they're gonna look to try and go mid with it. But they're gonna have to give up on the earn pickup, more than likely. And I like this aggression because they're gonna pressure them away from the walker. So now the Calico has to make the option of, do I stay and help my team defend the walker? Or do I leave to go do earn and risk losing it? But luckily for FPSL, their waves are fantastic. So she can just choose to do the earn. Venator is looking for a pick. It is now a mid-boss timer. Anyone that dies is going to have the ability to go mid almost at spawn. Good dodge on the swap for whoever it was. And this fight is very disjointed. And it sucks because melee creeps now has to retreat to go fix the waves. And because JonJon's so far ahead, he has to be playing in these fights in order to actually have an impact. So he can't be sitting in a side lane farming, because that will risk him, 1, getting picked off, and 2, if he's not if he's in a side lane, the enemy teams are just going to jump his team, and then they're going to lose that fight because he's not there.
I see pocket.
Here's a taste of what awaits them.
Good damage onto low main. Allows them to take a little bit of extra space. And I kind of like what's happening here. Because of the pressure that they did in the bottom right,
I fear no evil.
the Geist was forced to back away to give up this rift.
I see that spoiled brat. I see guys.
So now it's a battle for space. So the Eternus goes in to help create it.
I could be walking into a trap.
And now the fight is separated.
My prey.
It's so much harder for FPSL to get into this fight because of the way that it was separated. And JonJon's coming in from the side, so this is not bad. But he's playing his life. He's trying to do the damage that he can while prioritizing his life. And Sai's trying to stay near him to keep him up with the lifesteal and healing tempo. That's the person who has the most value. So with the 1 pick and the fact that everybody's low, they're just gonna go back to rejuve because Saya can help them reset.
I lead them to this.
They do take it very quickly.
The rejuvenator is descending.
Great swap. That Xeno swap helped save the game for FPSL. Or not save it, but turn the game around for FPSL side.
Let's take out Billy. I see Billy. You have a heal.
Stein's constantly playing, and he's trying to frontline the best he can for JonJon in this fight. Unfortunate. But great swap from Xeno to help them get all 3 rejuves. My god, that turned that mid boss around for FPSL. Now melee creeps are going to be playing on the back foot. And JonJon's respawn timer is so long, so FPSL can do a lot with this. And this was just simple, like, this could have been an argument as to why this extra flex slot was so important. If JonJon had an extra flex slot, he could have had an extra defensive item to help him stay alive and dish out more damage in that fight. Maybe it could have been just spell magic or something. There you go, Silencer. And this is a great buy because of the team that he's playing against. Pocket wants to get his abilities off, so if Venator's able to gun him down before he's able to get any of them off, it's huge. Geist wants to get swap off, it's huge. Calico wants to get all her abilities off, so getting the jump on her and then silencing her is going to be very beneficial. Same thing into the Billy or the Great Talon. And plus it's a little bit of extra spirit resistance, which is great for his defense. Because making them do 25% less while giving you 12% is massive. And they're at a bit of a standstill again. They're just looking to see if they can try and bait a fight out with this. And in the end, they weren't able to, so they just reset back to blue to keep mid prio. But FESL's playing on the back foot, just because they know they're really hard to push. But the double Paradox Bomb, Geist Bomb, like Pocket, they have a lot of wave clear that they can just kind of play back and defend.
I see Calico.
I see Calico. I see Calico.
That's a huge pick onto Poppers, but it's a huge affliction from Leffa. FPSL had the positional advantage in the fight, so it's making this fight really awkward for JonJon. Even though it ended up 1-for-1, if they continued the fight, melee creeps could have had a much worse fight. So now that it's played in the open, this is a much better position for melee creeps. Nice attempt. He wasn't able to get the silencer off to prevent the Pocket from TPing away. But there was an attempt. Good catch out onto low main. And with these few kills, they're really going to have to try and get this walker. They're just diving it. And they can't take it because they don't have the minion wave. So even though these are some good kills, their prize is mid-boss. But they wouldn't be able to get the walker if they had the minion wave. And they probably would have done that before going mid-boss. In that case. But I do like this play. That's a great gut shot in order to push away the Pocket. And good confirmation from the other creeps. But that gut shot may have saved the game. Because they would have all gotten low by that Pocket Affliction. Instead of hitting like 4 or 5, it only hit like 1 or 2. But now you can kind of see the slot troubles for JonJon. His next cell is Cultist, but now that they have the regen, they're able and the kills, they're able to get the walkers, so that he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. I like that he looks to go to play the cutoff. Because if the Paradox decided to leave that room through the entrance that JonJon went to cut him off from. She just dies instantly.
I see Billy.
But she was able to buy enough time to get one rejuve.
They push York.
And yeah, JonJon there was just securing all his exit routes.
Protects the flock.
I see great talent.
I see Calico.
Big affliction and laid on the counterspell.
I see Billy.
But because of all the resistance that JonJon has, the affliction's not affecting him as much as it normally would.
Headed to Greenwich.
And I like this. They don't greed the shrine. They don't have any reaches left. Even though there's 2 dead, only one person ended up greeting it, which was Lord NM
Goes one angry man.
on the silver. So they're able to reset, and now he has 2 things to counteract the affliction, so he doesn't have to worry about it as much, as well as inhib, which is great for anti-heal, as well as reducing the enemy's output damage. So anyone who's 1v1ing JonJon now is going to struggle quite greatly. Great pick onto DMB.
I see Paradox.
Good attempt on the gut shot. Good counterspell for the paradox swap.
I see Paradox.
JonJon would be so much lower if he didn't do it, and may have died to that great talent burn. Because if he got swapped there, he would actually end up taking more damage. Because of the paradox bombs as well. So he may have died, but he probably would have just E-shifted as well, and that's why the E-shift was so important to buy. So that way, if he does get swapped in, he can just E-shift, buy some time, and then not take a lot of damage from paradox bombs.
I see Billy.
They'll walk right into this.
I see Billy.
E-shift so he can have a safe lasso and play aggressively. They just drop and get out. Yeah. This is well played from melee creeps. Yeah. Good job from the Ivy to help fly him out. So they do decide to turn that. That's kind of interesting.
Billy.
They can run, but it only will delay the
And this is turning into a very sloppy fight.
I see great talent.
I mean, JonJon did buy a lot of time, but it gets really rough now because he's dead for nearly 90 seconds. FPSL has room to take some stuff back on their side of the map. Dude does steal away the urn. So FPSL is going to look to play this urn because JonJon's dead. And FPSL is going to look to take all their jungle afterwards. So, yeah, essentially the call to turn there did end up killing them. Because they didn't need to play that greedy. This just gave space to FPSL to come back into the game. Unless they understood that people were going to die regardless, and they just wanted to try something. So FPSL ends up getting all 3 rejuves. And that's huge for FPSL's comeback. So now JonJon's going to have to play pretty safe. Just wait for his team. But now that they did drop, he'll always have the backdoor option. As long as one wave is good, they will have the threat of a backdoor. So he sold his cultist and buys Siphon. Another tool for sustain and a little bit of extra damage. Especially now later into the game where everyone's tanky, the value of it has risen.
lead them to this.
They're just waiting. They're not pushing out of the base. Because if they do, they don't want to risk the chance of getting picked off
I fear no evil.
and create a stagger situation. So they're just waiting fully for the team to be able to reset.
I got a little surprise for him.
And in the process, FPSL knows that they're just going to turtle, so they're just going to look to steal all the jungle. And that's why they have the Paradox and the Calico just kind of scouting to see if they can look for a pick of some sort. Just in case Melee Creeps does screw up.
Let the fire flame them.
You fought off the court of the Hidden King. Ready to fly? They will return.
Let's
And I love this. Saya flew in JonJon to take a more isolated fight with the Geist, rather than putting himself in the middle of the fight with like the Billy and like the Paradox and whatnot. So they're trying to split this fight to make it easier for the little bit of damage that they can do. Yeah, so melee characters is isolating these fights so much better than FPSL is. And with all the metal skins, League is going to be the main source of the damage alongside the Shiv and the Holiday. It's going to be really hard for JonJon to do much in these fights at this point in the game.
I see great talent.
Good E-Shift to buy some time.
You fought off the court of the Hidden King, but they will return.
And remember, FPSL had the rejuve going into this fight.
Stand and stop them.
So even though they traded 3 for 3,
I see the trust fund.
melee creeps actually killed them twice beforehand. But they're just isolating these fights so well.
Glad to be of service.
And splitting up FPSL as much as they can.
I see guys.
And because FPSL loses this fight, melee creeps have already dropped, they can just rush down blue and end the game.
Whatever she can to help.
Big paradox. That was fun.
That's GG's. Very solid early game from JonJon. Got a little bit scary, but still a very good solid early game.